Then he says, Ya sahibay sijn, O my two companions of prison. Look at the way he addresses them. He calls them sahib. Why? Because there is something common between the three of them. The word sahibain is actually the dual of sahib. And the noon of sahibain has been dropped because sahibai sijni, sahibai, and the ya at the end is of mutakallim. So because of that it's mudaf ilay, therefore the noon has been dropped. And the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, they were also called Sahaba. Why? Because they became Muslim at the time that he was alive. And they were his students. They learned from him. Yusuf a.s. calls them his own companions. Why? Because of a common feature amongst them. And what was a common feature? Imprisonment. All of them were in the prison. Because when a person shares in something with the other, automatically he feels closer to him. Isn't it? Like for example, you go somewhere to someone's house and you meet a person, you don't know them from before, and you just say that these days I'm doing the Al-Huda course. And this lady goes, that I'm doing it online. All of a sudden what's going to happen? You're going to feel closer to her. Automatically you're going to start talking more with her. You're going to start discussing things with her. Because naturally when there's a common feature between two people, they feel closer. Isn't it? And this is the reason why all the prophets of Allah, when they did da'wah, what did they say? Ya qawmi, O my people. Similarly, Yusuf a.s. says, Ya sahibai, O my two companions of a sijn, of the prison. And from this we can also learn an important etiquette when we're doing da'wah, that if we're addressing people, we can say to them, our fellow Canadians, our fellow citizens, or something like that. Because when you mention the common feature, people feel less threatened. They don't feel threatened. And there's no lie about it. You are a Canadian. Whenever somebody asks you, what's your citizenship? What do you write? Do you write Muslim? What do you write? Canadian. So similarly, if you're living in this country and there are other people whom you're talking to, you're giving da'wah to them, what can you say? My fellow Canadians. You don't have to show them that my Canadian identity is higher than that of Islam. That's not an issue over here. You're talking about the place that you're living in. What is the common factor between you? And you're not doing this in order to show yourself as small before them. You're doing this to make them feel comfortable. Which is why all the prophets of Allah, what did they say? Ya qawmi. Although their people were disbelievers. They were not Muslim, but still they called them Ya qawmi. Similarly, we must also do da'wah in this way. So he says, Ya sahibay sijni, arbabun, are lords that are mutafarriquna, different, diverse. Are they khayrun? Are they better? Amillahu, or Allah, who is al-wahid one, al-qahhar, the prevailing. So he questions them over here. Notice he's not just lecturing one thing after the other. After mentioning 2 or 3 things, what does he do? He makes them question. Because when a person is questioned, what happens? His mind becomes more alert. So he asks them, أَأَرْبَابٌ, are lords mutafarriqun? Arbab is a plural of Rabb. Remember we did this word earlier as well? Where? What was the ayah? قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاء بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. And of those points is that we will not take besides Allah arbab. So arbab is a plural of Rabb, which is Lord. So he asks them that are mutafarriqun lords. Mutafarriqun is a plural of mutafarriq. And who is mutafarriq? One who is separate from the other, one who is different from the other. So mutafarriqun, several, scattered, diverse gods. Are they better? Amillahu al-wahid al-qahhar, or Allah who is one, the prevailing. The one who is qahhar over everyone and everything. One who has complete control. Yusuf a.s., he draws the attention of his companions to the futility of shirk. That how wrong it is. It does not make any sense. It's completely illogical. That if there are so many gods, is it better to have many gods, or is it better to have just one supreme prevailing God? He makes them think. And he mentions this to them because this is very relevant to them. These people were servants or slaves. And slaves are owned by who? One person. Correct? If one slave is owned by many masters, you can imagine his life. One master says, do this. The other master says, no, don't do that. There would always be a clash. Always. All the time. Conflicts. So he asks them this question because it's extremely relevant to them, and through this he's trying to prove Tawheed to them. And if you look at it, instead of forcing his opinion on them, he makes them think so that they can decide themselves. And this is also what we must do. Instead of telling people all the time, this is what you should believe in, this is what you should believe in, what should we do? Ask them questions so that they can use their own mind and they can decide for themselves. And he uses a very basic example. Very basic. That just think about it. If there are many gods, one god of the sun, one god of the rain, one god of rizq, another of life, another of death, would that bring benefit to you? Or one God who has control over everything, would he bring benefit to you? Because if there are many gods, what would happen? The god of rain would want to send rain, and the god of sun would want to bring the sun out. And there would be a conflict, which would lead to a war eventually. And it's sad that people actually have stories about wars amongst gods as well, and still they do not understand this. When they see the heavens and the earth, how they're functioning so perfectly, doesn't that show to a person that there is only one God? So he asks them that who is better, one God or multiple gods? And he says to them that مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِهِ, you do not worship besides him, إِلَّا أَسْمَانٍ, except names. In reality, who are you worshipping? Just names. And if you look at it, a name is something that is abstract. A name is something that is abstract. A name belongs to who? A being. And a being is an object. A name itself is nothing without a being. So he is telling them that you are in reality only worshipping names. Because these names that you have designated to these objects, they don't exist in reality. سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا, you all have named them. أَنْتُمْ you وَآبَاؤُكُمْ, and your forefathers. And these names, مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِن سُلْطَانٍ, Allah has not given you any authority for that you should give names to certain beings and declare them as gods. It's not possible. إِنَ الْحُكْمُ, not the decision, إِلَّا except لِلَّهِ, for Allah. The decision belongs to who? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why does he say this? That when Allah has not allowed you that you should give names to certain objects and declare them as gods, then how can you do that? Judgment belongs to Allah only. All kinds of hukum, of life, of death, of wealth, of illness, of rain, fate, everything belongs to Allah. People cannot make up laws and rules for their religion. Human beings, they must follow the rules that Allah has made. They cannot make up the rules of their religion. إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ أَمَرَ, and Allah has commanded, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا, that you do not worship إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, except only Him. Allah commands you that you should only worship Him. And if you have declared that there are other gods besides Him, there is no evidence behind that. ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ, that is the right religion. What is the right religion? The religion of Tawheed. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, but most of the people, they do not know. So in the first part of the ayah, he states that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not sent down any permission for worshipping other gods. And in the second part, what is emphasized? That in matters of religion, there is none except Allah to give rules. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who decrees, who decides the religion. People cannot make up their own rules for religion. And if you think of it, what's happening? He's talking to who? The prisoners. Then in your country, what's happening? People themselves have made rules of their religion. How can you make rules for your religion when Allah has not allowed something like this? So we see that in this very short address, Yusuf a.s. conveys to them the message of Tawheed. He conveys to them the knowledge of the previous prophets. He conveys to them the futility of shirk. And he indirectly gets many messages across, so that they would think. And this is a technique that we must use. That when someone comes to us asking about something, then we must seize the opportunity and also do da'wah to them. Especially Muslim professionals, people who are working in different workplaces. People come to you asking about their teeth or asking about their health or asking about their hair. So when they're asking you, shouldn't you also tell them about something? Seize that opportunity. Yusuf a.s. seizes his opportunity and he does da'wah. And before he tells them the answer to their questions, he tells them a little bit about their religion. Just a little bit, just enough. And in very short address, he gets many messages across. He makes them think. Like for example, if you think of it, if you go to a dentist, your mouth is open, you cannot talk, right? There's no conversation that can go between you and the dentist or you and the dental hygienist. And who can talk? Only the dentist. So if Allah has made you a dentist, if Allah has put you in that position where you can talk and the other person has no choice but to listen, use that opportunity. Similarly, if you're a doctor and you're sitting in your office and people are coming to you and asking you, you can tell them little things. If you can tell them what to eat, if you can tell them to exercise, if you can talk to them about the weather, you can certainly talk to them about this as well. And this is how their religion spreads. We think the way of doing da'wah is, holding certain events, giving a book to someone to read. Yes, that is also one way. But a more effective way is this way. That when people come to you, you talk to them. Similarly, if a person is a hairdresser, you do people's hair, you cut them, you color them, etc., etc. They're coming to you, there's constantly a conversation going on between you and them. Talk to them at this point. Give da'wah to them. And if you feel that you're unable to talk, then at least you can put some nice brochures or pamphlets where? In the waiting room. You can give them something to read. Generally, when you go to a hairdresser, what do they give you in your hand? A magazine to look at, which is filled with haram. Literally, every other page is something that shows the awrah, which you should not be looking at. And instead, at this point, if Allah has put you in that position where somebody is coming to you to fulfill their need, you seize that opportunity and do da'wah to them at that point. And this is an etiquette that we learned from Yusuf a.s. That sometimes it's not just with your words, but even with your body language. That when you approach someone in a nice way, you are confident, you speak to them properly, you behave properly, then, they get relaxed. That, okay, although she's wearing her hijab, but she can speak English. She's not a terrorist. And perhaps if you have a nice conversation with them, and at the end, just before leaving, you can just give them a nice handout. But unfortunately, the thing is that we don't have many beautiful handouts. We don't. If you go to any church, any prayer room that belongs to Christians, whether it's in the hospital or it's in the mall, outside you will see such beautiful, lovely handouts and brochures which you want to pick up and you want to read. But unfortunately, if you want to find something like that which mentions Islam very briefly and accurately, your choices are very limited. So it's your duty that you must make something like that. If you look at it, he's not bombarding them with too much information. What he says to them is not that heavy. It's in a very casual way that he's talking to them. Normal speech. And he does not bombard them with too much information. He does not use big words from a different language. These are all familiar words. He uses the word arbab, which is known to them. Lords. They knew masters. They had this concept of someone who owns you. So speak in the language of people so that they can relate with you. If you look at the way he talks to them, he doesn't say that I have left the religion of you people. What does he say? I have left the religion of a people who do shirk. And then he doesn't say to them that, oh, disbelievers. What does he say to them? Oh, my two companions. Look at how welcoming his style is, his manner of speech is. Because when we say that, no, I am a Muslim and you are not a Muslim, I am an Asian and you're not an Asian, then what happens? Automatically we put a barrier between the two. Isn't it? So choose your words wisely and speak in a way that is more effective, that is welcoming, that is easy for the other person to listen to. Then he says to them, then he finally tells them the interpretation. If you look at it, his address is very short, it's very concise, and at the same time very comprehensive. But for example, if you pick up a brochure or a pamphlet, sometimes it's like 3 pages long. Even you yourself don't want to read it, and you expect a non-Muslim to read it? Think about it. And it's something that is interesting, the way that he mentions it to them. To the point, brief, clear, concise, yet comprehensive. And then he tells them about the interpretation of their dream. That, Ya sahiba yasijni, O my 2 companions of the prison. He doesn't say, oh unlucky ones, oh disbelievers. Amma ahadukuma, as for one of you 2, meaning as for the interpretation of the dreams is concerned, then as for one of you, فَيَسْقِي رَبَّهُ خَمْرًا, then he will give drink to his master of wine. Meaning he will offer wine to who? To his master. Just like he did before. This is about who? The saqi, the cupbearer. That very soon you will be taken out of the prison and you'll be reinstated. You'll go back to your work. You will resume your work and you will continue to serve the king his water. فَيَسْقِي رَبَّهُ خَمْرًا. And over here the word khamra has been used because the king, he would drink, and obviously he was not a Muslim. So just because this is mentioned over here does not mean that kings can drink. Okay? Because in our deen we learn that كُلُّ مُسْكِرٍ haram. Every muskir is haram. Every intoxicant is unlawful. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ, and as for the other, فَيُصْلَبُ, then he will be crucified. Yuslabu is from the root letter Sad Lamba. And salib is to crucify someone. It is to hang someone so that he dies. فَتَأْكُلُ, so it will eat. What will eat? الطَّيْرُ, the birds, مِنْ رَأْسِهِ, from his head. Because he dreamt that he is carrying bread on his head and birds are eating out of it. So he says that the other person, he will be crucified and he will be left dead until the birds, vultures, are going to eat out of his head. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ, the matter has been decreed. Which matter? الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ, the matter concerning which you all were asking. You all were seeking verdict. تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ is from the root letters فَاتَيَ, from the word fatwa. And fatwa is to seek a ruling concerning something, and particularly a religious ruling concerning a problem. So, the matter has been decreed. What does it mean by the matter has been decreed? Meaning this is the interpretation of your dreams, and it has been so decreed by Allah, this will definitely happen. Remember earlier we learned that once a dream has been interpreted, then however it has been interpreted, that will happen. So Yusuf a.s. interprets their dreams and he tells them that this will happen. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. But if you look at the way Yusuf a.s. tells them the interpretation, he does not force them to accept the message before that. In the previous ayat, what do we learn? He does da'wah to them. He doesn't say, okay, so are you going to become a Muslim or not? If you become a Muslim, then I will tell you the interpretation. If you don't, no interpretation. No. He does not force them. He does not compel them. He does not pressurize them. He does not say, so are you ready to take the shahada? Like we do. We talk to a person once and we want them to take the shahada immediately. And if they don't take shahada immediately, we feel as if they're bound to hellfire and we are so bad at doing da'wah. He leaves the matter to them. He lets them think. Because each person should use his mind and decide for himself. And when he tells them the interpretation, he tells them in a very nice manner. First of all, he does not specify the names. He does not say, so as for you, the cupbearer, you are going to go back, and as for you, the baker, you are going to be killed. He does not specify the names. What does he say? As for one of you, and as for the other. He does not say, oh, you lucky one, congratulations, you'll be freed very soon. And to the other, oh, you unfortunate one, you'll be killed, and so bad that you'll be crucified, and so bad that you will not be taken off until vultures eat out of your head. This is not a gruesome, evil description. It's not depressing, nor is it overexciting. In a very sober, professional manner, he tells them the interpretation of their dreams. And he's very, very careful. There is no discouragement, there is no ridicule, and there is no sense of, showing that I am so superior and I am so great. Because generally if you ask someone about the interpretation of your dream, they will show themselves to be very great. Someone who has a lot of authority. That, this will happen to you and this will happen to you. Your son will go here and you will get married, or this one will die very soon. No. He's very gentle. He's very appropriate. He's very professional. He does not pretend as if he is God. He is very normal in the way that he speaks to them. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he said that when these two men said what they had to say to him, and Yusuf a.s. explained their dreams to them, they replied, "We did not see anything at all." They said, No, we were only lying about that dream. We didn't see that dream. Because it is said that when these two men, they entered the prison, they noticed that Yusuf a.s. interprets dreams. So they said, okay, let's go try him. And this is why they went up to him and asked him the interpretation of their dreams. When he told them the interpretation, they said, "Oh no, we never had that dream." But Yusuf a.s. said to them, "Qudi al-amr." Now this will happen. This will definitely happen. So what do we learn from this? That a person should not fabricate dreams. A person should not lie about them. And once the dream is interpreted, it happens as it has been interpreted. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that the dream is tied to a bird's leg as long as it is not interpreted. If it is interpreted, it becomes a reality. So according to the interpretation of their dreams, this happened, that the man who had a dream that he was carrying bread and birds were eating out of it, he was punished. It is said that after 3 days, he was killed. And exactly as Yusuf a.s. described the interpretation, that is what happened, because he was proven guilty, because he had offered poisoned food to the king. On the other hand, the cupbearer, he was reinstated after a few days, and he went back to his work. So Yusuf a.s. وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي, and he said to the one who, meaning out of the two who, ظَنَّ, he thought, meaning Yusuf a.s. thought, that أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ, that he is going to be free. And remember the word ظَنَّ أَنَّ, it gives the meaning of certainty. So Yusuf a.s. was certain that this man was going to be saved. Najin is from the root letters Noon, Jim, Waw, from the word Najat. And Najin is actually Najiw. Okay? It's Najiw, just as the word Ra'in is actually Ra'i. So he was certain that he was going to be saved, the cupbearer, minhuma, from them too. He said to him that Udhkurni, you mention me, inda rabbik, near your master. Who was his master? The king. He says that when you are freed, and when you get out of the prison, when you go back to work, then mention me to your master. Mention as to how I have been imprisoned unjustly for an unspecified period, and tell them as to who I am, so that at least I can be taken out of the prison. If they don't want me in Egypt, perhaps I can go somewhere else. It's not fair that I am in the prison. Tell him at least about me, that I have been in prison for an unspecified period of time. فَأَنْسَاهُ, so he made him forget. Who made him forget? الشَّيْطَانُ, the shaitan. Shaitan made this man forget. ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ, mentioning to his master. Shaitan made him forget to mention Yusuf a.s. to his master. He completely forgot. He never mentioned to the king about Yusuf a.s. So then what happened? فَلَبِثَ, so he remained, meaning Yusuf a.s. remained, فِي السِّجْنِ, in the prison, بِضْعَ سِنِينَ, some more years. After that, for a few more years, Yusuf a.s. remained. And the word bid'a is used for some, a few, several. According to some people, bid'a is used for a number that is between 3 and 9. And others say between 5 and 9. Can you imagine? He lived in the prison not for 1 year, for 2 years, a minimum of 3, according to others, a minimum of 5, up to 9 years. He stayed in the prison. This ayah has been understood in another way as well. That فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانِ, this pronoun who, it refers to Yusuf a.s. That shaitan made Yusuf a.s. forget ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ, the mentioning of his Lord. He made Yusuf a.s. forget that he should pray only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that he should not depend on the saqi, he should not depend on the king for his freedom. He should rely completely on who? On Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for coming out of the prison. It is said that when Yusuf a.s. asked the saqi, and the saqi was freed, the cupbearer, he was freed and he was out of the prison, Jibreel came to Yusuf a.s. and he asked him, who saved you from being killed? Yusuf a.s. replied, Allah. Then he asked, who brought you out of the well? He said, Allah. Who brought you out of the house of Aziz, Misr? He said, Allah. Who saved you from the fitna of his wife? Allah. So he said, then the one who is going to bring you out of this prison is also Allah. You should not have asked that man. Now, does this mean that we should not ask other people for help when we are in a difficult situation? Remember that principle that hasanatul abrar are sayyiatul muqarrabin. That the good deeds of those who are righteous, they are like shortcomings for who? For those who are much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you understand? For an ordinary person to do something good is a big deal. But for a person whose rank is very high, for him to do that good is something ordinary. Similarly, for an ordinary person to leave something that is important is not a big deal. But for a person who is at a much higher level, if he leaves that, it's a big deal. Like, for example, a small child. If he breaks a glass, if he, throws his toys on the floor, it's not a big deal. But if an adult just tosses a glass off the table, throws his books off the bookshelf, is that acceptable? It's not acceptable. Similarly, the rank of a prophet is much higher than normal people. This is why when it's okay for other people to ask others for help, it is not okay for the Prophet of Allah to seek the help of people. It does not befit him. It befits him that he should only seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we can learn a lesson from this. That when we are in problems, we try different ways to come out of them. What do? We talk to people, we call here, we call there. When we're doing that, in a way, we are actually complaining to others about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we're discussing our problems with other people, we're asking them for help. In a way, what are we doing? We're complaining to them about Allah. That I'm making dua, but nothing's happening. How can you help me? Like, for example, you ask someone, what should I do? They tell you, make dua. You say, yes, I am making dua. However, you also tell me what to do. What do you think I should do? This is what? Complaining about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should remember that if Allah is the one who has created us, He is the one who has taken us from one stage of life to the next, then He is the one who can take us out of the problems that we're in. Because He is the one who brought us to them. So we should depend only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should depend only on Him when we are in difficulties. Because remember that for every difficulty, a time is fixed. Isn't it? For everything, a time has been fixed. Allah wanted him to stay in the prison for a specified time. And no matter what he did to get out of the prison before that, he could not come out. Similarly, if we're going through a problem and we want to come out of it, yes, we should try to solve the problem. I'qal wa tawakkal. Tie your camel and then also rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, it does not mean that we get lost in the means that we're adopting and we forget about the fact that Allah has set a time for it. Because sometimes if we try one option, it doesn't work out. We try another option, it doesn't work out. What happens? We become very frustrated. We stop even making dua. What is the right behavior when we're going through problems? Try. Make attempts to get out of it. But don't forget that there is a fixed time for everything. If it's being delayed, it's not happening, then know that there is a reason behind that. Despite the fact that you're putting in effort, things don't seem to progress. There is a reason behind that. It's your test. Allah has put you in that test, and you will not come out of it until Allah wills. So who should you go to? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Him for help. Stop relying on other people. But generally what happens in these situations? We're making dua. Still there seems to be no getting out of that problem. We begin thinking, am I cursed? Does Allah even listen to me? Maybe Allah is very upset with me. Maybe I've done something very wrong. Maybe my salah is not even accepted. Maybe all my good deeds are going to waste. This is from shaitan when he makes us think negatively. So in problems, never despair of the mercy of Allah. Know that for everything there is a fixed time. Yusuf a.s. was supposed to stay in the prison for a fixed time. For bid'a sineen. And Allah wanted him to stay in the prison until then. Because if he was to come out of it any sooner, then the ground was not prepared for him. The things were not ready for him. He had to come out at the time when things were ready for him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a particular position for him. And that he could not achieve until he stayed in the prison for all those years, and he came out at the right time. And how did he come out? With another dream. A dream of who? The king. And inshallah we learn about that in the next session. We see that there is a lot of dreams in the story. That Yusuf a.s. himself has a dream first. Then the prisoners, they have dreams. And then the king, he has a dream. Recitation? What did you learn? One thing. Sometimes we want something really badly. If we don't use the correct means, we can completely lose it. Like for example, those women, they desired Yusuf a.s. They didn't use the way that was appropriate at all. And then Yusuf a.s. was completely out of the picture. Exactly. He says, Yusuf a.s. in the da'wah that he does, أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Although all the people in that place were not upon Tawheed, but still he uses the word akthar, majority. So that it shows to the prisoners that there is room for them to do shukr. They can also learn about it. They can also do something. He doesn't close the doors for them by using the word akthar.